Lieutenant Commander Sarah Brooks had never looked more terrified of a wrench in her entire military career, which was impressive considering she'd once stared down a Crix battle cruiser without flinching. So, Martinez said slowly, examining the disassembled heat exchanger spread across the maintenance bay floor like the world's most complicated puzzle. When you told Lieutenant Williams you were great with your hands, you meant what? Brooks's face had achieved a shade of red that Martinez was reasonably certain violated several laws of thermodynamics. I meant I'm good at paperwork. Very good. I can file reports with incredible hand coordination. Chuck's antennae drooped with what Martinez had learned to recognize as profound second-hand embarrassment. Lieutenant Commander Brooks, why would Lieutenant Williams assume you meant mechanical aptitude? Because we were in engineering, discussing the plasma conduit repairs, and he said something about needing someone skilled, and I panicked, and she gestured helplessly at the scattered components. Now he thinks I'm going to help him recalibrate the portside thermal regulation system tomorrow at 1400 hours, and I have no idea what a thermal regulation system even does. Martinez picked up what was probably a flow valve, or possibly a decorative paperweight. With Starship components, it was sometimes hard to tell. It regulates temperature. I gathered that from the name Martinez. Just checking. Fisher wandered into the maintenance bay carrying a sensor array and wearing the expression of someone who just discovered something fascinating and definitely shouldn't have. He stopped, looked at the disassembled heat exchanger, looked at Brooks's panicked face, and smiled. Oh, this is about Williams. You know about Williams? Brooks demanded. Everyone knows about Williams. You've been doing that thing where you walk past engineering 7 times a day for inspections that involve no actual inspecting. I was ensuring operational efficiency. You were staring at his shoulders while he worked. I can multitask. Martinez held up his hands before this escalated into something that would require actual human resources intervention. Okay, let's focus. Brooks, what exactly did you tell Williams? She pulled out her datapad, scrolled through messages with visible dread, and read aloud. I said, quote, I'm incredibly handy with complex mechanical systems. It's practically instinctive. I once reassembled an entire engine cooling array blindfolded. Did you? Chuck asked with genuine curiosity. Absolutely not. I've never touched an engine cooling array. I don't even know what one looks like. They look sort of like, Fisher started. I don't want to know, Brooks cut him off. I want to learn enough in the next 18 hours to not completely humiliate myself in front of the man I've been obsessing over for 3 months. Martinez looked at Chuck. Chuck looked at Martinez. Fisher looked at both of them with the expression of someone settling in for quality entertainment. This is going to be a long day, Martinez said. It is currently 2000 hours, Chuck observed. It will be a long night followed by a long day. Thanks, Chuck. Very helpful. I provide temporal accuracy. The first lesson did not go well. This is a sonic torque driver, Martinez explained, demonstrating the tool's basic function. You use it to... Wait, Brooks, why are you taking notes? Brooks looked up from her datapad, stylus poised. I'm documenting the process. You can't learn mechanical repair from notes. It's hands-on. I'm an auditory and visual learner. This is a kinesthetic skill. What does that mean? It means you have to actually touch things, Fisher translated, repeatedly, until muscle memory forms. Brooks stared at the sonic torque driver like it was a live explosive. What if I break something? You're holding the tool that fixes broken things, Martinez pointed out. Breaking something would be impressively counterproductive. Chuck extended one of his 6 arms, gently taking Brooks's hand and positioning it correctly on the driver. The key is confidence. The tools sense hesitation. Tools don't sense anything. Tell that to Bean, Fisher muttered. Bean is a special case that we don't discuss, Martinez said firmly. Brooks, just grip it and, no, not like you're strangling it. It's a precision instrument, not an enemy. I'm a tactical officer. Everything is potentially an enemy, including tools. Especially tools. They're unpredictable. Martinez pinched the bridge of his nose. Okay, new approach. Chuck, show her the basic heat exchanger assembly. Chuck picked up the main housing with 2 arms while using his other 4 to gather components. The heat exchanger functions by transferring thermal energy from the primary coolant system to the secondary radiator array. You begin by seating the core manifold. In English, Brooks interrupted. Hot thing makes cold thing makes hot thing less hot, Fisher translated. That's not even remotely. Chuck's antennae twitched with linguistic frustration. But is it wrong? It is reductive to the point of meaninglessness. But is it wrong? Chuck's antennae achieved maximum irritation position. No. By 200 hours, Brooks had successfully assembled approximately 30% of the heat exchanger, dropped the sonic torque driver twice, and nearly welded her uniform sleeve to a plasma conduit. I'm a disaster, she announced, slumping against a workbench. Williams is going to realize I'm a complete fraud who doesn't know the difference between a thermal coupler and whatever that is over there. Flux capacitor, Fisher offered. That's not real, Martinez said. It could be real. We have quantum sensors and sentient appliances. Flux capacitors are barely a stretch. Focus, Brooks pleaded. I need to be competent by tomorrow afternoon. Martinez sat down next to her, wiping grease from his hands. Brooks, can I ask you something? Why lie in the first place? She was quiet for a moment, then sighed. Because Williams is brilliant. Actually brilliant. He can rebuild a plasma manifold while reciting specs from memory and making it look easy. And I'm good at my job, great even, but it's all tactical analysis and strategic planning. I wanted him to see me as someone who could work alongside him, someone who understood his world. So you claimed expertise you don't have. When you say it like that, it sounds bad. It is bad, Chuck agreed. Lying is suboptimal for relationship formation. You think I don't know that? I panicked. He was standing there, explaining some repair procedure, and his eyes literally lit up when he talked about the engineering, and I wanted him to look at me like that. So she gestured vaguely at the partially assembled heat exchanger, created this disaster. Fisher leaned against the workbench, thoughtful. You know what's interesting? Williams asked me about you last week. Brooks sat up straight. What? Yeah, he wanted to know if you were seeing anyone. I told him you were chronically single and possibly married to your tactical console. Fisher, in my defense, I was being accurate. What else did he say? Fisher grinned. He said you were the smartest person he'd ever met. That when you brief the senior staff, everyone else just sort of fades into background noise because you command the room so completely. Brooks blinked. He said that. Direct quote. He also said your tactical simulations are poetry in mathematical form, which is either romantic or deeply nerdy, possibly both. So he's interested in me for my actual skills. Shockingly, yes. Then why am I learning to assemble heat exchangers at 2 in the morning? Martinez, Chuck, and Fisher exchanged glances. That is an excellent question, Chuck said. At 400 hours, after 6 hours of attempting to teach Brooks mechanical engineering through sheer determination and increasing amounts of profanity, Martinez had what he later described to Patterson as an actual intelligent thought for once. We're approaching this wrong, he announced. Brooks looked up from her datapad, where she'd been reviewing schematics with the intensity of someone preparing for combat. What do you mean? You're trying to fake expertise instead of leveraging the expertise you already have. I don't have mechanical expertise. That's the problem. No, but you have tactical expertise, strategic thinking, problem solving under pressure. Martinez pulled up a holographic display of the thermal regulation system. What if instead of pretending to be an engineer, you approached it like a tactical puzzle? Brooks tilted her head, studying the schematic. Explain. Every system has weak points, optimal efficiency paths, potential failure cascades. You analyze battle scenarios for those exact things. What if you analyze the thermal system the same way? That's actually not stupid. Don't sound so surprised. Fisher jumped in, excited. He's right. You're trying to learn mechanical skills in hours when you could be applying existing skills in minutes. Williams doesn't need another pair of hands. He's got maintenance crews for that. He needs someone who can look at a system and see what he might miss. Chuck's antennae perked up with enthusiasm. A tactical approach to engineering problem solving. Fascinating. Brooks stood, approaching the holographic display with renewed focus. Okay, show me the system. All of it. How it connects, where power flows, what depends on what. Martinez expanded the display, showing the complete portside thermal regulation network in three-dimensional detail. The system maintains temperature equilibrium across 47 decks. Primary coolant here, secondary radiators here, emergency backups here. Stop, Brooks interrupted, her command voice kicking in. That's inefficient. Why route coolant through deck 32 when you could bypass directly to 35? You're adding three junction points and increasing potential failure modes by 20%. Martinez checked the specs. You're right. That's been the standard configuration since installation. Standard doesn't mean optimal. Brooks began marking points on the display. And these backup systems, they're isolated from each other. If one fails, you can't reroute through adjacent sectors. It's like deploying battle groups without overlapping coverage zones. Tactically nonsensical. Chuck was taking notes. Lieutenant Commander Brooks is identifying inefficiencies that have existed for 3 years. Because you've been maintaining the system exactly as designed instead of questioning whether the design was flawed from the start, Brooks said, warming to the topic. Williams is recalibrating tomorrow, right? What if instead of just helping him restore factory settings, I propose optimization improvements? Fisher grinned. Now we're talking. Nothing impresses engineers more than finding problems they didn't know existed. I can do this, Brooks said, conviction replacing panic. I might not be able to assemble components, but I can analyze system architecture. That's basically what I do all day, just with weapons instead of coolant. Martinez felt the kind of satisfaction that came from solving a problem in the least expected way possible. So we're agreed. No more pretending to be mechanical. Instead, you're bringing tactical analysis to engineering challenges. Tactical engineering, Brooks said. Is that a thing? It is now. At 13:55 hours the next day, Martinez and Chuck lurked near engineering with the subtlety of two people absolutely not spying on their colleagues' attempt at romance. We should not be here, Chuck said. Definitely not, Martinez agreed, not moving. This is invasive and inappropriate. Completely. They continued watching through the maintenance access window. Williams stood at a diagnostic console, explaining something about thermal gradient coefficients while gesturing enthusiastically. Brooks stood beside him, not touching any tools, but holding her datapad and occasionally pointing at the holographic system display. She is not assembling components, Chuck observed. Nope. Lieutenant Williams seems engaged with her commentary. Yup. They watched as Brooks highlighted something on the display, and Williams's eyes widened. He pulled up additional specs, cross-referenced her suggestion, then looked at her with an expression Martinez recognized as engineering respect, the kind that only came from someone showing you something genuinely clever about your own specialty. Williams said something. Brooks laughed. He smiled. Mission accomplished, Martinez said. Bean would be proud, Chuck agreed. Why would Bean be proud? Bean appreciates successful problem-solving through unconventional methods. Also, I believe Bean has been monitoring Lieutenant Commander Brooks's heart rate throughout this encounter and taking vicarious satisfaction in her success. Martinez pulled out his communicator. Bean, are you spying on Brooks? I prefer the term, providing supportive observation from a distance. Bean's voice crackled through. Also, her cortisol levels have decreased significantly. The tactical approach was effective. You're monitoring her biochemistry. I am a multi-talented appliance with diverse capabilities. You're a coffee machine. I am a coffee machine who successfully supported a romantic endeavor through biochemical surveillance. There is a difference. Martinez decided that some arguments weren't worth having. At 1900 hours, Brooks found Martinez in the maintenance office, where he was filing reports and trying to convince Chuck that tools couldn't actually have electromagnetic personality, despite mathematical proof to the contrary. It worked, Brooks announced, and her smile could have powered the ship's engines. Williams asked me to look at 3 other systems for optimizations. He said my tactical perspective was amazing. Told you, Martinez said. And then he asked if I wanted to grab food in the mess hall tomorrow. Casually, as a date. I think it's a date. Is it a date? It's a date, Fisher called from across the room, where he was supposedly working but obviously eavesdropping. It's definitely a date, Chuck confirmed. Brooks sat down, still grinning. I almost ruined everything by pretending to be something I'm not, but you helped me realize I didn't need to fake expertise, I just needed to apply mine differently. That's very philosophical, Martinez said. Who are you and what did you do with Brooks? I'm Brooks who's going on a date with Williams. She paused. I should probably learn his first name. It's Jeremy, Fisher offered. Jeremy Williams. That's a good name. It's an extremely normal name, Martinez pointed out. It's perfect. After Brooks left, practically floating down the corridor, Chuck turned to Martinez with what might have been an approving antenna configuration. We successfully resolved Lieutenant Commander Brooks's crisis without mechanical instruction. We taught her something better than mechanical skills, Martinez said. We taught her that being herself was enough. That is surprisingly wise, human Martinez. I have my moments. Infrequent moments. Don't ruin it, Chuck. Fisher packed up his equipment, heading for the door. So, what did we learn today? That honesty works better than deception. That being yourself is more valuable than pretending to be someone else. That tactical analysis applies to more than just warfare. All of that, Martinez agreed. Also, that Brooks can identify system inefficiencies in minutes that we missed for years, which is either impressive or embarrassing. Both, Chuck said. Definitely both. Bean, you still monitoring? Martinez asked. Always, Bean replied. I have been documenting this entire encounter for future reference. Also, I have begun analyzing the thermal regulation system based on Lieutenant Commander Brooks's suggestions. She was correct about the inefficiencies. I am implementing improvements. If we just get shown up by someone who doesn't know what a flux capacitor is. Flux capacitors are not real, Chuck reminded him. That's not the point. That evening, Martinez filed his maintenance report. No mechanical repairs performed. Assisted Lieutenant Commander Brooks with professional development through unconventional consulting methods. Learned that sometimes fixing problems requires not fixing anything at all, just helping people see their existing tools differently. Also, the thermal regulation system has been suboptimal for 3 years and nobody noticed, until someone who doesn't work in engineering looked at it. He attached Chuck's supplementary notes about spiritual essence in tool organization, still ongoing research and Fisher's observations about human romantic behavior, unnecessarily detailed. Admiral Patterson would read it, probably sigh deeply, and file it under Tuesday things that make sense on this ship despite making no sense anywhere else. Because in the end, whether you're fixing pipes, optimizing systems, or helping your colleagues navigate the complicated waters of shipboard romance, the principle remained the same. The best solutions often come from applying what you already know in new ways, rather than learning entirely new skills under panic-induced pressure. Or, as Chuck had expressed it with characteristic precision, competency is not about knowing everything, but knowing how to apply something. Martinez had filed that under wisdom that sounded better in the alien's philosophical tone than it would coming from anyone else. Somewhere in the depths of the USS Consequences, systems hummed with newly optimized efficiency thanks to tactical analysis applied to engineering problems. Bean monitored biochemistry levels with supportive interest. Brooks and Williams were probably discussing thermal dynamics over dinner, which was either romantic or incredibly nerdy, but worked for them. And Martinez, having successfully helped a colleague without actually teaching her anything, decided that sometimes the best maintenance you could perform was on people's perspective rather than on physical systems, though he'd never admit that publicly, because it sounded way too philosophical for someone whose primary job was fixing toilets. After all, when you're holding the universe together with duct tape, determination, and occasionally unconventional problem-solving approaches, you learn that the best fixes are the ones that don't require fixing anything at all, just helping people see that they were never actually broken in the first place, merely looking at themselves from the wrong angle, which was exactly the kind of wisdom that sounded profound at 2000 hours after a very long day and would probably sound ridiculous tomorrow morning. But Martinez was too tired to care about consistency, because that was Tuesday, or Wednesday, or whatever day it was when competency paradoxes resolved themselves through tactical analysis, and everyone learned something valuable about authenticity. The ship's logs would just say normal operations, and that was fine. Normal was relative anyway.